Hi, I'm Ruth, and welcome to Inspired Questions, where I have meaningful conversations with women about life's ups and downs, or share on my own about what's on my mind. My guest today is Melanya Kushla. Melanya is a registered dietitian and eating behavior specialist who helps people living with fatigue, burnout, and chronic health challenges find ease around food again. No meal plans and no perfection required, which I love. She's the founder of Taste and Thrive, a virtual practice built on the idea that sustainable change comes from working with your body and your real life, not against them. And today we're talking about something that can get surprisingly complicated: food, our bodies, and our health. We start with that dreaded question, what's for dinner? And get into why feeding ourselves can feel so overwhelming, all the shoulds we picked up along the way, and how we might make all of it a little bit easier. Hi, Melania. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Hey, Ruth. I appreciate being here.
Melania and I met at the High Vibe retreat in Collingwood, and I think we had a bond. We had some good chats. We've had a good chat since then. And I'm so happy that Melania is on today because I think we're going to have a great conversation about something that a lot of women struggle around, and that is food
Yeah.
and body, food, body, and health. Food. Let's keep adding to it. Food, body,
Yeah.
and health.
Yes.
Yes. So why don't you tell my listeners a little bit more about you and how you've come to this work?
All right. Yeah. Well, I am a dietitian by trade. I'm also a health behavior specialist and chef educator. And in this space, I really like working in mindset and behavior around food and our body and health. And specifically, I'd say my niche is people living with fatigue, burnout, chronic health challenges that are looking for ease around food and peace with their body. So it's not going to be a lot of rules, not a lot of meal plans. We're working with the idea that real sustainable change comes from working with your body and your environment and not
Mm.
against yourself, right? This is for real life, very practical kind of stuff. We kind of go off book a bit just because textbooks don't really take into consideration the whole being human and having emotions side of things. So we work with that too. My background largely is in health behavior, specifically interactive nutrition education and teaching kitchens and culinary medicine. But that's really where I really got onto this concept of seeing it in action, right? It's not about telling people what to do. We know things. We know too many things sometimes. It's
Uh-huh.
the doing. How do we get from knowing to doing it? That's where a lot of us get tripped up. And there's a lot of layers to that. So that's really where I work with people on is peeling back those layers, unpacking things, and then aligning your lifestyle and your environment to help you achieve whatever it is your health goal is.
Hmm. I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And I think it's so needed. I think
Mhm.
I feel like the conversation that I have most with my sister, with friends, is the frustration around the question, what are we having for dinner? And when a family member asks that question, the rage that fills up our bodies, because the
No,
rage and the
nobody wants
overwhelm.
that hot potato.
No, it's like, it's like the rage, the overwhelm, and the decision fatigue that comes with that question.
Mm-hmm.
And why
Decision
is it
fatigue.
dinner? Yeah,
Yeah.
it is decision fatigue,
Why
and
is
it's
it
dinner.
dinner?
I find not as much with
Yeah.
breakfast and lunch for some reason, but
Yeah.
dinner especially.
Let me share why. So, I mean, there could be other reasons, but the big one is we are more emotional creatures later in the day. When I say that,
Mm,
like any food decision we make is always part physical, part emotional. It's just hardwired like that in our brain. We have to eat for sustenance, but it's also a pleasure stimulus for us, meaning we need that. That's the emotional tie-in, right? We enjoy it
mhm,
to various degrees. And in the day, the beginning of the day, we are more, I don't want to say stable, but we haven't experienced all of the emotions we're going to experience yet in the day.
mm.
So we're
Oh,
kind
that's
of
interesting.
emotionally fresh, if you will.
Mhm,
And as the day unfolds, we make decisions, we deal with other people, we think of things, we reflect on stuff, we deal with things, we make plans. So by the end of the day, we've really gone through this huge roller coaster of emotions and we're fatigued from that. And that reflects on our food decisions. So food
Mm.
decisions earlier in the day are going to be more physical, less emotional, not entirely physical. They're always some part of the other, you know. And then lunch is a little bit can be the same, but we're getting a little bit more emotional at that point. And then dinner is kind of our most emotional self in the day from a meal perspective. So it is harder for us to make that choice because we're also wading through all of the feelings we felt all day. And you also hit the nail on the head before when you said decision fatigue. That's the other piece of this. We are just tired of making decisions. And a question like what's for dinner is too open ended, right? There's like infinite options, and our brain just can't contend with that. Yeah. Versus like
It's
choosing off a menu is easier because it's predefined. We only have to choose from like these handful of things, which is easier for our brain.
it's interesting because you think about how we evolved. Like our whole purpose, tens of thousands of years ago was foraging and
Finding food.
finding food and sustaining ourselves.
Hmm.
And the food options were very limited.
Hmm.
And then now it's like the food options are endless, especially now with like food delivery, which is amazing and horrible all at one time.
It is a blessing. It is.
Yeah, it really is. And so it's like the food options are endless.
Mhm.
we Most women are working outside of the home, but still doing a lot of the home
Household
work,
stuff.
household tasks. Yeah. If you have a family on top, like children and all of that on top of like, or if you're the sole parent, like let's think of all the different variations.
Mhm.
It's become so much more loaded and so much more
Yeah.
exhausting. Like it is. And then you add in, I think for myself, I don't have the children, I have the husband who I do. He's picking up a bit of the cooking and such, but for the most part, I'd
Fantastic.
say
Yeah.
it's still mostly me. The grocery shopping is me,
Yeah. So a
and
lot
then
of the decisions still lie with you.
yeah, and then you add in like if you have a chronic illness, like if I have Crohn's disease and IBS, so both
Mhm.
digestive issues, or but you don't even have to have that, or if you have
Yeah.
body image issues, or you struggle with your weight, or and I feel like maybe not all of us struggle with our weight, but a lot of women have body image issues. So then food
Mhm.
becomes loaded in another way. So it's just like
Yeah. It makes it
how do
even
we
more
navigate this?
consistent. Yep. Exactly. I know.
Answer, Melania. I want the
Answer.
answer right this minute.
So you think this. Okay. My answer is depends. No. But kind of, right? That's the thing is it's very
Mhm,
personal. The answer
mhm,
is going to be personal. And it is about trying to give, I'm going to try to summarize this a little bit. You know, like you were just saying, it's about weighing all of these factors and priorities and finding a kind of or creating, if you will, a decision making path for yourself. I like to
mm,
speak of this in terms of identify your big priorities when it comes to food. Like, why does it matter to you? Like, what are
yeah,
the big things? And those can be different for a lot, like it could be taste is a big one. A lot of people choose things because it tastes good. It's great.
mm,
That's the thing. Cost is a big factor. How it makes
yeah,
us feel is a big factor. Health is a factor. Like different kind of priorities. And if we can really get in touch with our top, I'd say top three, that's going to make it a little easier because then it's a little when you get a new piece of information or what like kind of intrusive thoughts or negative body thoughts comes into your mind, you can kind of challenge it with more conviction when you know your choices are honoring their greatest good, right?
mm,
So these priorities come from you. They're not other people's priorities. They're yours. And that can help make it doesn't solve the problem. You're still going to have to make a decision, but it's easier when we know why we're doing what we're doing.
mm.
That's where that conviction piece comes from, I think. And again, it's not going to be a like quick fix. You're not going to suddenly love your body just because you know you're choosing things that feel good or that honor those needs. But it's it does make it easier to accept, I think.
Mm,
And then you can kind of work on that separately and maybe start to neutralize that a little bit. Yeah.
mhm. What brought
So
you to this work? Like, I'm sorry, I think I
I know that's
interrupted you. I
okay.
apologize. But like, what brought you to this work? What?
Yeah. Well, like all dietitians, I had my own body issues, I'd say. I think
Mhm,
that's, you know, it attracts a certain kind of person, maybe. And I also will admit that I didn't kind of realize I had these issues until
mm,
later in my career. But like in hindsight, I can see how they guided some of my decisions. Um, I grew up in a family that was very health conscious, but always struggled with their health. So there was a lot of messaging around like food and like what is considered good versus not good. And I will say, like, I think my mom did a really great job of not using polarizing language,
mhm.
and tried to kind of shield me from things. But, we're kids, we see stuff. And
Yeah.
we learn just from that too. We pick up on all the context clues. So I still kind of had this, even though I didn't necessarily have the same struggle or know why, I still have this weird relationship with food where I felt like I needed to control everything. And
Mhm.
to be very honest, that's why I became a dietitian, so I could have that. Except I realized knowing everything still doesn't change what you do.
I know. No, it really. I know this as different helping profession, but also it
Yeah.
was like now I have all
Yeah.
the answers, and I still don't
And
actually do it.
I'm still a human too, it turns out.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I kind of joke that becoming a dietitian doesn't necessarily change what I do. Now I'm just cursed with the knowledge of good and evil about what I do.
That's amazing.
I still do things. I just know what it's doing inside of me for better or for worse. So I can make informed decisions, but
Yeah.
I still have emotions. I still have weird blocks and feelings about things that kind of keep me from doing what I should do, if you know what I
Mm,
mean. Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm much better about challenging those thoughts, right? Like at least my awareness has helped with that. But like everyone, you can't like treat yourself. It's different. Every therapist needs a therapist kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
but that's my big reason. That and just I think health anxiety in general. I wanted to
Mhm.
have that. I don't, control was part of it, but certainly maybe peace of mind knowing I did what I could do
Mhm.
to help my mom. Yeah.
Mm. That's really interesting. And I think
It's
it's so hard just because again, health and food are so
yeah.
tied together. And then we talked about this before, like when we spoke before we
Hmm.
this recording. Also, food is so multi-layered because it's health. It's how we feel physically, how we feel emotionally about ourselves.
Hmm.
It's how we show love. It's
Yeah.
how we like it become as part of culture, a
And
part of family
accountability.
ritual.
Mhm.
Yeah, like can you speak more to that?
Yeah. And you're exactly right. That's why I think it causes so much I want to say grief, at the same time. It's joy. Because it doesn't just fit in one box of our life,
Mhm.
one area. It crosses those lines. And I think in our brains, we get uncomfortable with that. We don't know what to do with it or where to put it. And that makes the decision making harder a lot of times. But you're
Mhm.
right. I like to think of, and this is actually why I went into culinary medicine specifically, because I was just very driven by this notion that food is one of the few things everybody can connect on. And it's
Yeah.
what we as humans come together for, right? We come together for a meal. There's a celebration, there's food, we share coffee. That's
Mhm.
that is just inherent in our connecting with, in our ability and aptitude to connect with people. But at the same time, with diet culture, a lot of things feel very punitive when they don't aren't. So we kind of feel guilt or anxiety or shame about going out for dinner when we know we should cook at home, or I just ate out last night, I shouldn't go out to eat again. We have all these shoulds and shouldn'ts that kind of start to weigh us down. And I wish I did have the one line solution for all of this, but it really is challenging those yourself, right? When you kind of letting go of the shoulds and
Mm.
making a choice. Actually, I do have a little one liner. It just came to me.
Yay.
The right decision is you making the decision based on what you know, what you need, how you feel, and what's available to you right now.
Hmm.
That is always the best decision, whatever that is in the moment.
Hmm. I like that because I like that because it's dynamic. Like it can
Mhm.
change with the moment, because how I feel today at dinner time is going to be different how I feel tomorrow at dinner time. And
And what's available to you. That one I find gets people hung up, right? They're going out to eat and they feel like I work with people on sometimes it's more on the kind of emotional side, sometimes it's more on the physical side, and they're trying to get their cholesterol numbers down or
hmm,
something like that, right? And they feel anxious eating something that they know is heavier, right? And what if you're traveling? What if you're on the road and all you have is restaurant food? How can you kind of unburden yourself from that anxiety? And part of it is just knowing you're making the best choice with what you have.
right.
That's it. And you just don't happen to have a kitchen right now. So let it go.
That's helpful because I'm about to travel.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking on that because like we're about to travel, and there's going to be celebrating, and there's going to
Hmm.
be lots of like, it's a whole big family, like a week and a half with my family. And I am excited about it.
That's exciting. No, it's so fun.
there's a little trepidation, and yes, my mom will listen to this, and there is a little trepidation, but there is also a lot of joy, and I'm very excited about it. But there's a lot of celebrations, and there's going to be a lot of eating out. There will be some cooking, but with where my body is at now with my Crohn's, and then like having my gallbladder removed last year, I'm finding I'm in a new place where things trigger
You
differently and
do.
issue.
Yeah.
And there is that like worry, like what am I going to do? Like I have a hard enough time when I'm home in my space.
Mhm. And
And
things are more controlled. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, what am I going to do? But no, I think it's that the anxiety sometimes is the worst part, is that like, but I like that. It's like you're just making the best decision that you can make in that moment with what is available.
Yeah. And people, I think we always do try to get it right, right? And it comes from that space. We don't want to accidentally self-harm with food. I think that's
No.
where a lot of that health anxiety comes from. And we don't want to feel bad, but we also want to be able to enjoy what we're eating at the same time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it is finding the balance in whatever every food opportunity is a unique opportunity. And you just
Mm.
make a new decision for that one. Yeah. And if we want to simplify it further, going back to just physical and emotional, right? Make a choice. Like when you're sitting down to eat or choose something off a menu or what have you, make sure part of the meal is
Hmm.
something that will help you feel better. And make sure part of the meal is something that you're just excited to eat. And
Hmm.
that's kind of balancing the physical and emotional too.
I like that because we get so caught up in the all or nothing. Like it has to be.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
That is like the bane of, well, that's the bane of everything. But yes, we really do. And I promise every nutrient counts. Even having like one carrot or one piece of broccoli is still better than zero. Like your
Mm.
body's still going to use those nutrients. Your body doesn't wait to have all the nutrients before it uses them. Anything coming in is going to be useful.
Mm.
Mm. So
I like
something is always better than nothing.
I like that. So choose balance. Something that you're
Yeah.
going to is going to nourish you physically, but
Yeah.
also something that's going to nourish you emotionally.
Yeah. So like just to share like an example, I guess, of my
Hmm.
thoughts. Whenever I eat, this is kind of how I make my decision. When I'm planning a meal or I'm going out and I'm looking at the menu, is the first thing I think is how do I want to feel in 2 hours? Because that helps me get the nourishment piece,
Mm,
right? If I'm thinking of myself right now, especially if I'm overly hungry, it's hard to make rational decisions when you're a little too hungry. Your body is like compelling you to eat now and everything's going to look good, even stuff you didn't know existed. But if you can kind of pull yourself, it's interesting because it's for the moment, but you're still kind of thinking of your future self. That might help you make the choice that maybe includes, I don't know, some vegetables or, a protein or something that, is going to stabilize things and help you feel your best in 2 hours. And then I'm like, okay, what do I actually want right now? What looks the best? And that's actually the thing I find the hardest. What do I want?
mm.
That's the piece I struggle with because that's where my dietitian brain comes in and is like, well, you should get this. It's leaner. Or it's like, oh, that's fried. Or, it starts to look at all these things. So I actually have a lot of difficulty deciding what I want.
Interesting.
Yeah. I also acknowledge that I like to try things. I've kind of
Mm.
figured that out about myself too. So it's difficult to decide because I don't like to pick one thing. I really I always want a sampler platter. If there is a sampler platter, you bet that's what I'm getting.
That
Well,
makes sense.
yeah. But I think that's a big piece of it for me too. Is
Mm,
I don't necessarily want to eat everything. I just want to know what it tastes like. That discovery is very exciting for me.
mm.
So I get hung up on that a lot.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And I like that idea of balance, but I was just thinking about the all or nothing because we do it with like what we're eating in the moment, but we
Mhm.
do it also, I feel like, with the overall eating patterns. It's like when you're like, oh, I've been eating so well, and then you kind
Yeah.
of go off the rails and you have like whatever, you know, um, a bag of potato chips, no, or something.
Sacrament.
God, those big bags of potato chips. And then you're like, well, I've ruined it. So like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
again that all or it's like why do like I don't know the maybe I should do some research into like the like do you know the neuroscience like the biological or the neuroscience like or the psychology behind that thinking?
I've found so our foodways, and we've kind of danced around this already. Our foodways are very like societally determined, if you will. Like our
Mm,
culture and our society and those trends and rules and cultures are what influences how we eat. And my take on it is that a lot of this derived from like early Christianity and especially in the Americas, like kind of that Puritan
mm,
almost mindset. And that's where it comes from is
mm,
this idea that you're pure. And if you're broke, you're done. If you're blemished or besmirched or you know, break your honor or your integrity or lose your virginity, then you're just
yeah,
dirty. You're done.
interesting.
And that's the all or not. That is it. That's the all or nothing. And it's just been such a big kind of driving notion in a lot of our earlier societies, like a couple hundred years ago when the Americas were getting settled, like really
Hmm,
colonialism and all of that. I feel like that's that you see it. That's where a lot of this comes from. The idea that if it's not totally and intact and pure, it's unworthy anymore.
interesting.
Yeah. But looking at earlier societies, pre-Christian, they didn't have that as much. They
Hmm,
weren't as fussed about getting it perfectly right. Those religions, right? That kind of that notion still gets passed around and such,
hmm.
kind of also haunts us, but it is evident in our cultures,
It
at least
is.
in our cultures. Yeah.
And it's evident also like what society says about how we should look and how like I mean it dictates we're
Hmm.
constantly being bombarded with the
Yeah.
messaging of how we should look, how we should act, how we should do
Hmm.
everything. Like I think about myself when I have a history of disordered eating. When I was about 18, I lost like I struggled with my weight through my teens. I lost a ton of weight when I was 18. I was barely eating and I was over exercising. I was in such poor health because I was not taking care of myself, but I was thin.
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "You are fantastic." What, like, I feel
Yeah.
like you hear this story a lot. Like, people were praising, like, they were just. And then I think of this time, it was right around COVID, actually. I was probably in the best health. Like, I was cooking. I mean, I guess because we weren't working, I had lots of time. I was cooking and experimenting, and we had cut sugar out, and I was, I cut sugar out, but was happy with, like, we were finding alternatives,
Yeah.
like refined sugar, I should say. And I was exercising, but I was doing it because I was enjoying it and I felt
Hmm.
strong. And I'd lost weight, but I was much heavier than what society would say I should be.
Right.
And
But you're healthier.
I was so much like, I was naturally, I'm more
Yeah.
muscular, like, just naturally more muscular. Like, I was
Yeah.
not what you would define as the ideal or what, but I was so
Be-
much, I know, but I was so much healthier. And I think, like, it's, how do we like, when we are constantly being bombarded with this messaging,
Mhm.
how do we overcome that and then make decisions? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like the cards are stacked against us in
They
a
are.
way.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the messaging is incessant,
Yep.
especially with all of our social media stuff.
Mhm.
What I would suggest, like my biggest, what I've come to is at least one of the biggest solutions for this is, again, it's not going to just disappear, but is right remembering that our brains are plastic, neuroplasticity, right? And
Mhm.
they will believe what they hear, what we tell them, but we can influence that too,
Yeah.
right? And that's where like it's a little woo, but going and I actually don't think it's that woo. I think there is, science behind it. It's just not. Anyway, like things like affirmations and mantras,
Yeah.
those types of things really do help because you are
Yeah.
challenging those thoughts. So an exercise I like to do with my clients is like writing down all of these thoughts and food rules, if you will, and then we rewrite them to challenge them. Like every single one, we will write kind of a matched affirmation that refutes it. And that
Mm.
way, when some of these thoughts creep up, they have a one liner that they can just repeat to themselves and remind themselves that that is simply not true. That helps. I would also say curating your exposure to things also helps. So I've done quite a lot of work myself to not, like, if I get ads for things, if I see certain
Mhm.
types of content, I will like unfollow, block, hide, all kinds of things because that is subliminal messaging,
Yeah.
right? And we are, even if we're not consciously reading everything, our brain still sees these words and sees these things. So I also just try to limit my exposure to that. And then I also find, and this is ironic because I'm a very private person and I'm just, kind of learning to come out of my shell and share more parts of myself with people. But I also am finding a little inspiration weirdly, like this is going to sound conceited, but it's not, like in myself and sharing,
Mm.
just being who I am and and just kind of sharing how I am about food so people can see that that is also a healthy model.
Mhm.
Part of it is creating more examples of what health looks like that also challenge and refute that really limited notion.
Mhm.
So just being who you are is also helpful to shift that narrative. It may not help you, but it's helping people around you. But I think it helps you too. Like if you kind of reflect on that, right? You can show people how it's done.
No, I agree with you. I think that's how I approach what I do, is like, I just, like, I'm not perfect. Like, I try to say, like, I may do this work and I may sort of know it all, but not know it all. That sounds terrible. But, like,
Yeah.
I know a lot, but I'm not perfect. I still have the days where I fall back into the old patterns and beliefs, and or it takes me longer to get out of it. And I think you're right. It's showing that we're all human being and that we all struggle with this every single day. I hate the idea of, like, showing this only ideal
Right.
version. And some people it resonates. They want to strive for this
Yeah,
ideal.
it can be. Yeah.
It,
There's
but
different places for it all. Yeah.
But I know for myself that doesn't resonate. That always kind of makes
Right.
me feel kind of like I'm never going to be that, nor do I want to be that. So I feel like, but there are the people that maybe like us who are like, I want to see the real person who is
Mm-hmm.
like me, but maybe a few steps ahead of me.
This would be like when you're curating your feed, just to point out, like it's a very personal thing. Like when you
Yes.
see something that may be inspirational on the surface, actually go in and see how that makes you feel. Does it
Mm,
make you feel motivated, inspired, like yes? Or does it make you feel self-conscious? Or,
mm,
you know, does it make you feel any kind of bad that you're not that yet? If there's any negative, that's your answer, right? That's the
mm,
stuff you start to filter out. And because, like you said, different people are going to jive for different things. And depending on where we are in our health and life and journey and who we, identify with,
yeah,
that might be inspirational for us, but not someone else. Yeah. It's
absolutely.
not a reflection on them. You curate your own feed here, your own exposure.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. The point I was going to make that I remember also is the more we talk about these things is
Yes.
how we like, if we don't talk about it, then everybody feels alone. And then the
Hmm.
struggle gets that much harder. So it's the more we have these open conversations where I like say most nights I would just like to eat like a big bowl of mashed potatoes or a bag of chips
Hmm.
or like anything
Hmm.
cheese and and like or like I struggle with eating my emotions or all of that. Like, am I proud to say it? No. Do I feel shame about saying it? Yes. But it's like what Brene Brown, shame lives in the shadows. So like the more we
Yes.
talk about it, more we shine light on it,
Yeah.
then the less alone we feel. And that's when we can sort of take steps.
Hmm. It kind of gets a grip on us. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. I agree. And it is also hard to talk about these things, right? Where they're all like any type of, I guess, like insecurity, or like you said, if there's any shame or doubt there, we kind of become hesitant to share that, which is, fair. And I would also say some people like have I'm very fortunate in that my family has these challenges, but they're not like they don't put you down. A lot of
Yeah.
people like also receiving comments about what you eat from family can sometimes be not helpful. And like, yes, they're kind of projecting their own. And it is hard to openly talk about things, right? When the
Yeah.
conversations you have had have been punitive. So like start with a safe person at least, even if it's still not open, just your
Mhm.
partner or sister or friend or dog. Even just talking about it to yourself, I think helps, saying things out
Yeah.
loud. I said I talk to myself a lot.
So do I. It's like
My
embarrassing
shower
if
my
people are
shower
around me.
sessions, that's my self pep talk there. I get it all.
I do it around the house and then Keith is like, what? I'm like, no, I was talking to the dog. Like, no, I was
Never
talking to my,
mind.
no, I
That's
mutter
you.
to, no, I mutter to myself all the time as I'm going through things, but
Mhm.
it does make an impact. Being, I come from a family where weight issues were a thing and conversations, maybe not the most positive about food, were a thing. And I do know how much I'm making this face because my mom does listen, and I love you, and everyone did their best, and there's no harsh judgment there. Everybody did the best with what they had, but there was
Absolutely.
that, and comments about food, and it wasn't just like my core family. Like when I was a teenager, it was the like, oh, if you'd be so pretty if you just lost a little bit of weight. The older generation, they thought they were being nice and they thought they were helping, and they were not. They were just reinforcing
Yep.
so many issues. But it's hard. It is hard to, and I even find it with friend groups now, and I think maybe it's changing as I sort of who I surround myself with. But for even now, it's like I hear how sometimes my friends talk about their bodies, and it makes me so angry. Where I
It
hear because it's so mean. Like it is so.
is very mean. Yeah. Like you wouldn't
And
talk to who else that way.
no, but then I do it to myself too. Like I catch myself, again, getting better, working at it every single day, but I catch
Yeah.
myself doing it too. Again,
Yeah.
we're traveling and we have this family event to go to. And even now I'm like, oh, I hate, like, I don't like how I look. What am I going to wear? I feel like gross and
Okay.
everything. And then I'm like, I am fantastic. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, I will wear my dressy kimono, which is what I love to live in when I'm not wearing sweatpants. And like, and I will be fine. And it's like, so I go back and forth between the two, but it's so, I'm going to just keep coming back to it. It is so nuanced and it's so layered
It is. Yeah.
and there's so much around
It
it.
really is. Yeah.
Like, I don't envy you. I feel like I don't, like, not, I don't envy you, but like, it is such a it's such a huge thing to tackle.
It is. And I actually like my work to me is very emotionally demanding because of that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
find I can only see a limited number of clients in a day because I am wiped out by the end because there's so many layers and we go into it.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to find the path forward through all of that is so gratifying. Like
I
not just
bet.
for the people experiencing it, like but me. Like I really love, I don't know, helping people with that, like guiding them and helping them see the path forward through all of those layers and kind of finally finding their internal conviction and making peace with all these little elements along the way. Yeah.
Mm. But how do you let's go to that. How do you take care of yourself when when you do work that is can be very emotionally draining? Yeah, no, how do you take it? Not the let's the food element, how do you take care of yourself? But how do you take care of yourself on a whole to make sure that you don't go to sort of that overwhelmed, exhausted place?
Ever since COVID, it's been different. I've
Mm-hmm.
been, and I think that's true for everyone, quite frankly. It was a globally stressful event, and we're all still recovering from that in some way. Boundaries.
Mm.
Boundaries are my best friend, and that's a big piece of how I have learned how to care for myself, and it's something I help other people with too. Boundaries around food and life, and that's kind of what I meant with like the environmental elements here. We can put a few really well placed boundaries, and it's amazing what lifts and shifts for us. So
Mm.
I have been able to apply that to my own life. Like we talked about before, I'm not great at it because that's myself, and I don't, yeah, I know, but I don't do sometimes. But with the boundaries, I've been pretty good. So, only seeing so many clients on a day. I also like time blocking. So I only see clients on certain days.
Mm.
So my brain knows what gear to be in. It's in client gear or it's not. It pretty much that's the
Yeah.
two. And if it's not, I can do whatever. And I'm not, distracted or weighed down and focused. I also say making time for me first has been a big
Mm.
game changer too. Like I have I don't see anybody before 10. I don't like to talk to you. You're an exception. No.
Aw, I'm
9:30.
honored.
You're at 9:30. I'll do that. No. But at least for clients, right? I don't because my morning is my time to me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's very grounding and centering to put myself first in my own day. And that helps me, like, even if my day is exhausting, even if it goes in a different direction, even if we work through some really heavy stuff, I already had my cup filled. And
Mm.
I just do so much better throughout the day. Like I'm tired on the other end, but I'm not as emotionally just spent the same kind of
Mm.
way. Yeah. And then, the first thing I get to do when I wake up is meet stuff. So it's also something nice to look forward to every day. Like I don't wake up and immediately start doing something I don't want to say dread or don't like, but there's a difference, right? Doing a
Mm-hmm.
kind of an obligation versus doing something on a whim or just,
Yeah.
whatever you feel like you need in the moment. And that's something I preach to my clients and my peoples, but I've also managed to harness that for myself and it really has helped.
I
That's
love
the
that.
big stuff. I could say more, but I don't actually do the other stuff. The things I actually do. Yeah. From
No,
a food perspective, I also have to remind myself to eat because I will forget. I'll get focused and like, there's the day. So having external reminders is a big help too for the
Mm,
food, just so I eat consistently in the day. Otherwise,
okay.
I don't know.
Hmm. So let's talk about let's before I don't want to run like what are the practical things? I'm thinking of like again conversations I've had with my sister and with like
Yeah.
friends about the like what are the practical things that we can alleviate some of that decision fatigue
Um,
and that overwhelm about nourishing ourselves and our families, whatever that
yeah.
looks like.
Yeah. Good question. Okay. Couple of things. So actually, I'm going to just say that consistency eating regularly part because
Mm-hmm.
having your body regulated and working on kind of a pattern is going to help you. Like your body will help keep you accountable, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But your body's only going to do that if we feed it something predictable.
Hmm.
Not eat you don't have to eat the same thing all the time, but if you kind of pick out your eating pattern through the day, like pick the times you're gonna eat, for example, and just set some reminders and try to stick to that. Much like our body learns when we sleep and wake up, it's also gonna learn when we eat, and it will help guide you once it knows the pattern is established. So say you do that for a couple of weeks, your body will start feeling hungry at those times and your
Hmm.
metabolism will stay more even keeled throughout the day when it knows when to expect the next thing and it's not guessing.
Hmm.
Your body's unsure, it's going to go into a conservative state and it's conserving nutrients and resources, which makes it harder to do anything.
Okay.
And that's when we usually start not feeling as well. And this is for just about any condition because the resources are limited or your body's intentionally limiting it because it doesn't know when more food is coming. And, things just don't work as well. And we start to kind of low key, we decline a little bit.
Okay.
So that's one big thing that I feel like can really help because you're kind of taking care of the physical side with that. The other piece is going back to the decision fatigue. So make
Yeah.
decisions easier for yourself. I like to think of this as sitting down and deciding once, and then you just kind of use that model as your menu, if you will. So we do tend to eat the same things all the time, even if you think you don't. There might be some outliers and some novelty things, but our day to day does look pretty similar. We probably rotate between the same
Yeah.
3 or 4 things. So write those down for yourself. It's silly that we have to sometimes because we do it so often, but our brain's not going to keep that information. It's irrelevant. We eat so much in our life, our brain is not going to just retain that. It's kind of like if your brain remembered every breath you took. It could, but that's just not useful information. So it doesn't, which is why it's hard to remember what we eat and why it's
Hmm.
like making a decision from scratch every day. But if you write it down, you've captured it. Your brain doesn't
Hmm.
have to remember it. So write down, say, I really have 2 breakfasts, actually, maybe 3 that I will rotate between. I like a mango with yogurt and granola. I do, what do I do? That's my current fix. So that's like what's in my brain right now. And also I like bagels. So I do like a
Hmm.
bagel and cheese. We'll say. Let's just say those 2, which I can remember 2 things. But 3 or more, it is hard to hold that in my head. So I would write those down and then you really are just picking from a menu. And it's easier to choose one thing from 3 than it is one thing from infinite. I kind of think of it as like the Netflix dilemma, right? Where you
Yeah.
say, what do you want to watch tonight? That's a hard question to answer because there's too many options.
Hmm.
But if you say, out of these 3 movies, which would you like to watch tonight? You can make that decision. It's so much easier.
I like the idea of a menu because it is. It's sort of like if you have the options in front of you. So it's like every week buy the same items
Hmm.
so you have everything on hand for that menu and put on the fridge. Like these
Yeah.
are the like this is the menu for dinner this week and it's 5 different things. Cause I hate meal planning. I'm not like, cause
Yeah.
Tuesday's going to come around and I don't want the chicken stir fry or
Right.
the,
We're different
cho-
creatures by then.
exactly. So I find meal planning like that never works for me, but I
Yeah.
like that idea of like on the fridge, there's these 5 things and then
Yep.
every day we get to choose one.
One of
And
those
if we've
things.
and we might cross it out if we've eaten everything that's associated with that. But then we still have like I like that. I like that. And then it's the same every week, like you said, but with a little variation when you want to.
Yeah.
Fancy
And
it up a little.
exactly, yeah, and even with the novelty, like, you don't have to do a whole new recipe. You could just get one new ingredient.
Mm,
Like, I'll kind of share my own system just because it isn't very structured, but it works well because it is about limiting decision fatigue. So I pretty much have three options for each of the main food groups. I have three complex carbs or grains or starches. I have
mhm,
three proteins and I have three veggies. And I just mix and match that week. But it's never more than three of each. So
mm,
I don't go off into the infinite possibilities loop.
mhm.
So I work in threes because
Yeah,
our brain can handle three things at a time. More than three just feels like a lot. It could be four, it could be 20. It's still too much. Three is
yeah.
like the cap. So I really like threes. But if it's written down in a menu, right, it's already out of your brain. You can work with a few more options though if you want. And yeah, I just kind of mix and match. And then the other thing I do is I only buy kind of one novelty thing a week
Mm,
in a sense. Like, and this is, I find a lot of people kind of overestimate the emotional freedom they will have with cooking and buy like five fruits and veggies. And then a lot of them go bad before they can eat
yeah.
them, or we forget about them, or we just get sidetracked with life. And part of that is we just don't have that capacity, right? We have to make more decisions with those new foods because they're not part of our routine already. So even though they're fun, they're more mental work. And we don't always
Mm,
have that. If we go shopping on the weekend, maybe we have like more of that capacity on the weekend. But once that's passed, we're in the week again. We just don't have it. You mentioned kind of during COVID, that was a really lovely
mhm.
space, and part of that is you were you didn't have as much on your plate, right? So you were able to engage with food and yourself in a different way and take care of things, which is really beautiful. So we also want to work within our reality.
Yeah.
So if we do know that, once work starts for the week, our brain is focused on that and we don't have as much capacity, don't overburden yourself. You can still do stuff, but keep it keep it smaller. So I only buy one new thing because I know I can focus on that. I can use it. If I buy more than one, something's gonna go
Mm,
wrong or go bad before I get to it. But I can handle one thing. So it doesn't have to be one thing, but kind of get real about your real capacity, you know.
mhm.
And if it's one or two things or even three things, that's cool. But that helps too because it just reduces pressure and reduces food waste as well.
Mm. I like that.
But yeah,
My other my
define it for yourself.
yeah.
That's the big one.
So what do you do though at the end of the day when it's time to make dinner and you're so exhausted? It's like the thought of making dinner is just like,
I have
and
some
that's
big,
where
yep.
where we
I have
we
three
order in.
go-tos. I have three go-tos that don't require any headspace. Like
Okay.
they're very simple.
Mhm.
So one of those is chickpea pesto pasta. So I do
Mm,
chickpeas, whole grain pasta, pesto, and then I chop up broccoli. That's it.
okay.
That's one of my go-tos. I also do spaghetti and meatballs in a salad. That's another go-to.
Mhm.
So I like pasta, so it's usually pasta.
That's fair.
Another one I do, this is my healthier one, but salmon with rice and green beans. Because
Okay.
the salmon's in the freezer, the rice is in the pantry, the green beans are in the pantry. So they're all things I keep just always, like they're on hand and I can just whip it out when I need to. Kind of the same thing for the chickpea pesto pasta and spaghetti and meatballs, right? They're all things I will just always have those ingredients present, and those are my drop dead backups if I
Yeah.
don't have to think about it.
Mm. And I
But
think
sometimes I'm not in the mood and I
yeah.
will still figure out.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
think
okay.
also like it's getting over the because I was buying fresh vegetables. For me, also raw vegetables are hard on my
Mhm.
because of my Crohn's. But like so vegetables and me have a hard relationship because of my Crohn's. But I would buy like fresh vegetables and I threw so much stuff out. Like I hated it. It felt terrible. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it's as cost effective. I don't know. I buy most of our vegetables are canned or frozen.
Me too.
And
Yep.
I just find, and someone said to me, but like, again, like everyone has an opinion. And I'm like, but it means I'm not wasting food, which
Mm-hmm.
also not wasting money. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, is it like, I don't, maybe there's a slight difference in nutrients, but I can't imagine it's so big.
It's not that significant. It's still worth eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, like that gets me. That's one thing.
But that's it. Like I
Yeah.
think for me, that has been when I finally let go of the idea that it all had to be fresh and I started just going to frozen and canned. I do find we're eating more vegetable because it's so easy. If I'm making a soup,
Simple.
I'm
Yeah.
literally just popping cans of
Yes.
vegetables.
I
Like I
love
put
stuff
them,
like
I
that. Yep.
rinse them, and then I
Yeah.
throw them in the pot.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, now we
Exactly.
have a like great like vegetable
Yeah.
soup or whatever.
Yep.
And same goes if I'm making a stir fry or I'm making like roasted something or other. Like I can throw frozen broccoli on
Mhm.
the pan and it's like, let's roast it. Like I find things like that, like we need to let go of the things that we've told us that, again, it's the shoulds. It's like you said, you've
Shoulds.
been
I was
saying
gonna say,
you
yeah,
should
those are all the shoulds.
you should be eating the fresh and it's the same thing. Like I think when it comes to diets too, people think that, I mean, all
Mm-hmm.
diets are like, if you want to lose weight, eat salads. But for me, like if I wanted to lose weight, I can't eat salads. They make me incredibly sick because
Mm-hmm.
my body, because of my Crohn's, cannot
Yeah.
digest the raw vegetables. So it's like, I think we have to let go of this. Like we could, I'm sure we could talk
Yeah.
for hours about all the diets and
We
all the
could talk about
drugs
it.
and all. Maybe we should
I
do
was
a
gonna
second.
say that could be a whole other
I was
conversation.
going to say, if you're willing, I think it would be a very important conversation though, because I think right now, especially with like the
Yeah.
GLP-1s and all of that, we are getting bombarded
Mm-hmm.
with a whole new messaging
Uh-huh.
about our health. So I would love to do another episode. Like I feel like here we've talked about the practical sort of living as a human being
Yeah.
in this world trying to
Yes.
eat. But I would love to do another episode where we talk about the like diet culture and
Yeah.
medication. Like that's
I
where
can
our
do that
focus
too.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
We could absolutely have a whole other conversation on that.
absolutely. And I think, again, it's another important conversation to have. But yeah, I think sort of for this conversation, the shoulds. It's like
The
it goes,
shoulds. Yes.
I think I
And
don't
those
even
can
think
come
about
from diet culture, right? We
they
do a
do.
certain diet, or we saw our parents do a certain thing, like Weight Watchers is a big one, Atkins, right? Things like that. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we shouldn't do that. Or carbs are bad. Or that's a big one. Carbs are bad. Carbs are not bad.
Yeah.
But, things like that that we carry with us that influences still. Yeah.
And the shoulds of like the
And the
fresh
should.
vegetables. I feel like what you're saying
Right.
about the Puritan culture, like
Yes.
you should only eat fresh because
And
that's
also just like the
more
priorities
organic.
of
Or
food, right? Like
yeah.
feeding yourself is number one. Like fed is
Mm-hmm.
best,
Yeah.
hands down. If you can do that and do this, great. But eating perfectly never supersedes just eating, period. That's the number one,
I think that's
But, yeah, we get all this mixed messaging and we get caught up in, and you're right. It does go back to the all or nothing because we get stuck because we were like, well, if we can't do it right,
mm-hmm.
there's no point. But that's not true. That just simply isn't true. Yeah. Frozen
And if we
vegetables,
can't get rid of it right, that's a reflection on us and not the sort of way the fact that we're expected to work 8-hour days and take care of
right.
life
Yes.
and
Your
all of that.
environment
But
is
also,
also
you're
limiting
supposed to
there.
make a meal from organic
Absolutely.
ingredients that we
Yep.
can't afford
Yes.
because groceries are like, I could go on a whole thing, but it's
Oh.
all a reflection of that word failing. Like, it's never
Mhm.
a reflection. I mean, I think we're getting a little bit better about being able to like identify that it's other things, but ultimately the message still is if you're not doing
It's
it
on
this
you.
way, it's
Yes.
your fault. You're the
Yeah.
failure.
Yeah. That's called victim blaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, yeah, our society does do that.
Ugh.
Our healthcare system doesn't help.
No. No.
I could go
That's
off on another tangent about that. But yeah, letting go of those shoulds. So this is what I'm saying. Like it's such a big, and you can do this like anyone can do this exercise. Like it does not, exercise does not have to be all or nothing either. You don't have to list all of the rules. Just put down on paper what's on your mind, right? Put it out
yeah.
there and then rewrite it to refute it. And if you're saying, I shouldn't eat frozen vegetables because they're not fresh, you can write something like, I can eat vegetables because I want to eat vegetables. Like any vegetables count, something like that,
I like any
Just
vegetable counts.
any vegetable counts. And
Mhm.
actually, frozen is often better than fresh because it's picked at the peak of ripeness and flash
Mm,
frozen. So sometimes it does have higher nutrient content than things that are picked
interesting.
out of season or shipped across the world. Yeah. And like canned food has certainly gotten a lot better over the years too. The big thing was the salt, but there's lots of
Yeah,
no added salt and reduced sodium options now. So
yeah.
it's no longer the challenge it was either. Yeah.
Hmm.
Something else I just want to share, like it kind of when we're talking about these shoulds, right? When we're getting caught up in the minutia and missing the big piece, is I like thinking of this as the analogy of like you have a car, right? And when we're talking about like fresh versus frozen versus canned or making sure we get a variety of vegetables, things like that, like the little things, that's like fiddling with the windshield wipers and getting the best kind of wiper when you have two flat tires.
Hmm.
Yes, it makes a difference, but not as much as the tires. And we got to address the tires first.
Interesting.
Your
I like
wipers
that.
are going to have a chance to do anything if your car is just sitting in the driveway with flat tires. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, yes, that does make a difference, but not as much as some of these other things, like just eating regularly,
Hmm.
getting big food groups in. We don't have to overthink it. Just get the tires fixed, put new tires on. You can worry about the windshield wipers later. Yeah.
Buy the frozen vegetables
Buy the frozen veggies. Yes.
and
Yeah.
not order dinner every single night.
Yeah.
Not
But
that
if,
we've
if
ever
you
done
do,
that.
you can still make, if you do end up
Yeah.
eating out every night, use that balancing thing you talked about, right?
Yeah.
Still order and make a choice, something that's going to help you feel better and something that's going to taste good.
Yeah.
You could still apply that even when ordering out.
That's true. This is so interesting, and I'm glad we're going to do another one because I feel like that is so. It's again really important conversations to have.
Yeah.
How to find Melania will be all in the show notes. Her website, the link to if you want to book an alignment call with her. And I think what I like about our conversation we've had about food is is the fact that you are realistic, and I think that you bring a certain calm to the conversation when it's again it's a very loaded topic for I know for myself again it's a very loaded conversation. So I feel I feel comfortable talking to you because you bring that level of calm, non-judgment and flexibility with. So I encourage everybody, if food is a thing, mindset around food is a thing, all of that,
Mhm.
reach out to Melania because I think you can't go wrong to get help from you.
Yeah, I would be happy to talk to anyone.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's no wrong things to say or wrong
Hmm.
things to feel.
Thank you so much for being on today, Melania. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking about this, and I hope whoever's listening, something we said helps.
What a great episode this was. I really think what stayed with me most was how complicated we've made something we literally have to do every single day. Food is nourishment, but it's also pleasure and connection and culture and health and body image and family and so many other things. And then when we pile all of these rules and shoulds on top of it, I wonder why figuring out what to have for dinner feels so overwhelming sometimes. I really appreciate Melania bringing us back to what is actually realistic. Not what we're supposed to do in some ideal world, but what works in the life and the body that we actually have. I would love to hear what stayed with you from this episode. Was it the decision fatigue piece, the menu and working in threes so you're not choosing from infinite options? Was it letting go of some of the shoulds around food? Or was there something else that made you stop and think? Let me know by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. I try to read them, and they also help other women find the show and these conversations. And while you're there, make sure you follow or subscribe to Inspired Questions. There's a new conversation every week, and I'd love to have you back for the next one. If you want to connect with Melanya, you'll find her information in the show notes. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Grounding with Ruth or at groundingwithruth.com. And I think what I want you to take with you from this conversation, feeding yourself matters more than feeding yourself perfectly. Frozen counts, canned counts, ordering dinner counts, one vegetable counts. You get to make the best decision you can with what you need, how you feel, and what's available to you today. It doesn't have to be perfect to count. And until next week, stay grounded.